Now let's talk about TNA here. TNA brought back Tessa Blanchard this week. And it has been 4 years since her last run there, where she became the first woman to ever win the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. So she wasn't just the knockout champion, she was the World Heavyweight Champion. I guess back then it was still the Impact World title. And because I have seen so many comments online in the last 48 hours asking, why do people hate this woman? What did she do? Why does she have so much heat with so many wrestlers? I don't know what she actually did. I think a history lesson is important because there's a reason that you have not heard Tessa Blanchard's name much in the last 4 years. And it's not just because of one incident in Japan 7 years ago. You know, there aren't too many times where you can point to one tweet. I mean, a lot of wrestlers have tweeted out a lot of stupid shit over the years. But someone who burned their career down to the ground with a single tweet, not very often that you see that, but that's what happened on the eve of Tessa Blanchard's match with Sami Callihan when she won the Impact World title. And the tweet that she put out the night before simply said this: "Hey women, try supporting one another. Cool things happen." That one tweet led to multiple wrestlers coming forward to talk about what an awful, terrible person she was to them and to others in the wrestling business. And this was across multiple promotions, multiple countries even. Allison Kay was the NWA Women's Champion at the time. She tweeted back, "Remember when you spat in a black woman's face and called her the N-word in Japan? Was that you supporting women?" The audacity of this tweet. Chelsea Green, who just became the first Women's United States Champion last night, co-signed that tweet and chimed in with her own thoughts, claiming that Tessa has consistently put down, bullied, and belittled countless female co-workers, including her. Is that support? To which Tessa called her a clout chaser and said that it wasn't true. So she denied it. Isla Dawn chimed in and said, "As someone who experienced your bullying firsthand, received regular verbal abuse, was spat on, had rumors spread about me, dealt with multiple attempts by you to blacklist me from other companies, and more, I just pray that you now follow your own advice." Then there was Rebel from TNA and later on AEW, who confirmed the stuff from Japan, as did Shanna from AEW. Priscilla Kelly, who's now Gigi Dolan in NXT, she said that Tessa publicly put her down on social media for something that didn't involve Tessa whatsoever, and then dragged her name to other people over it. There was a battle royal where she got into supposedly a legit fight and then allegedly came back into the locker room and called every woman there trash. There was a story about her bullying Drake Maverick's wife, right? Rockstar Spud, at an indie show. Even the woman in question with the Japan story that she allegedly spat on and called the N-word, La Rosa Negra, she said the incident happened in 2017. Through all of this, Tessa has never admitted to anything publicly. She has never apologized publicly for anything. And to take her at her word that these were all lies, damn lies, would be to call all of these other women liars. Like they all just decided one day, they woke up one morning and they decided to conspire against her. When, had she kept her mouth shut and not tweeted what she did, it's very likely that none of this would have even been discussed. But it was so hypocritical that they just felt they couldn't stand by and bite their tongue and let it go unanswered. And that's when the floodgates opened. It's not like there weren't already stories out there about Tessa Blanchard. I mean, you can go back to the first Mae Young Classic and WWE opting not to sign her. Now, she did go on to beat Sami Callihan for the Impact World title and then had one title defense against Taya Valkyrie, and that would be her last. Then the pandemic hit, everything got shut down. But through it all, TNA stood by her, and they figured, hey, we could wait this out, and all the outrage would eventually die down. Her contract was expiring a few months later, and they ended up firing her. They fired her. They fired their world champion before she could effectively quit because they knew she probably wasn't going to re-sign with them. Leaving your world title on someone whose deal is expiring is another classic TNA move. But she was living with her fiance at the time in Mexico, and she was scheduled for 2 television tapings for them, which she never appeared at. Supposedly, she was worried that if she left Mexico, with everything going on, she might not be able to make it back into the country. So instead, they tried to at least get her to tape some promos from home and send them in so they could splice them into the show, and she couldn't be bothered to do that either. So they had to scramble at the last minute and re-edit the show and cut new voiceovers for the hosts. They tried to get her to come back to at least drop the title. Once it became clear that was not going to happen, that's when they fired her. I don't think it helped her cause that all of this went down right as the speaking out movement happened in wrestling. And, speaking out was a separate issue, but no wrestling company was going to touch anybody controversial at that point. Like, as talented as she is, and nobody is denying her talent, why would WWE not snatch her up immediately? Right? Ask yourself that question. 3rd-generation star, the daughter of one of the 4 horsemen. I mean, Tessa against Charlotte seemed destined to headline one night of WrestleMania in the next few years. Why would WWE not touch her? Why would Tony Khan not bring her into AEW to be the face of his women's division, which at the time was really struggling and could have used someone like her? The 2 biggest wrestling companies in the world, neither one of them would touch this woman. Why? Because she was radioactive. She was only 24 years old when all of this went down. That's a lot of baggage for a 24-year-old. She clearly made a lot of enemies in a very short period of time in her career. She made quite the impression. And through it all, there was no mea culpa. The woman that she spat on and called the name has since forgiven her for it. They even took a picture together and posted it on social media a while back. I am assuming that Tessa apologized to her personally for what happened. And honestly, that's really the only person that she would need to apologize to if she did that, because that's horrendous if she did that. But all of the other people that have claimed to be bullied or harassed or blacklisted by this woman, there's still, to date, never been any kind of acknowledgement by Tessa that she did anything wrong, or she can understand why people would have taken that tweet back in 2020 to be the gold standard of hypocrisy, right? She's never owned up to any of that. Not to say that everybody would forgive and forget if she did, but I think that would have gone a long way in terms of her career. She may be working right now for one of the major companies in this country had she done that. Instead, she doubled down. And even after all that, she signed on with WOW, Women of Wrestling, after they got a syndication deal with CBS. Remember that? They got AJ Lee to be the face of the show. Tessa was going to be their top star. It would have been the biggest stage for her in her entire career. And she crashed and burned there too, before the shows even started airing on TV. There were reports that she cut a promo on one of the wrestlers there in a class and really tore into this girl, like tore her to shreds, which led to other trainees speaking up in her defense. Then the classes got canceled, and the news came out that Tessa was no longer in charge of training talent. It caused a major shift in all of the plans that they had for the show. Like, you hear that, and you think, well, it's just Tessa being Tessa. Didn't do much to rehab her image, let's put it that way. And that whole project probably would have been like a Tessa Blanchard rehabilitation project, and she squandered it. She's 29 years old now. She's been working in Mexico for CMLL for the past year. And as far as I know, she's been a model citizen. There have not been any news stories that have come out about her. Nothing publicly has been said, negative. When Stephanie Vicaire left CMLL for NXT over the summer, she left without dropping her titles, including the CMLL Women's Tag Team titles. Tessa and Luvia, they won a tournament for them back in August, and now, once again, one half of the tag team champions has left the company without dropping the titles. And CMLL announced her departure this week and declared the titles vacant. Our old friend Vacant is back. This boy has been getting his passport stamped. He's been brushing up on his Spanish, I see. So they stripped her of the title because she signed a deal to return to TNA. In a deal so secretive Even the talent in the TNA locker room did not know about it. Sean Ross Sapp says a lot of the talent there were blindsided by the news. That's because the company intentionally kept the news away from much of its roster and even some higher-ups in the company to avoid any potential backlash. LOL TNA returns. We need to hide this from the people who work for us because there could be backlash to it. So we're going to do it anyway. What could go wrong? If you think that signing someone might cause a backlash so significant that you feel you have to hide it from people, that might be a sign that you shouldn't bring that person back. According to their sources, the decision to re-sign her came from a top person at Anthem, despite warnings from others in the company. So basically, somebody in Anthem, and not from the wrestling side, is the one who made this decision. And the plan was for her to return as a heel to feud with Jordynne Grace. And I presume beat Grace on her way out of the company, as I would be shocked if she doesn't sign with WWE when her deal is up, which is in the next couple of months. And so at their final resolution show on Friday night, Tessa did indeed attack Jordynne Grace during Grace's match with Rosemary to give Grace the win by DQ. I saw a report from someone with Post Wrestling, I think, who was there in the building on Friday night, who said that everybody in the building knew. Like, they had already read the news about Tessa, and they knew she was coming in. And when she did show up, the reaction was mostly negative. Like, not necessarily in a way where, oh, she's a heel attacking someone that we like. It was more like, ugh, not her. Mike Johnson says, internally, reactions have been mixed. While some within TNA remain supportive of Blanchard, others have expressed discomfort with her return. Grace, for instance, reportedly pushed back against the idea of working with her, though she is still set to face Blanchard as part of the company's storyline plans. One source shared that the hope is for Blanchard to remain on her best behavior, as this marks her biggest opportunity in years. However, the move has drawn skepticism, with one source stating, the news was kept quiet for a reason. They didn't want to deal with the fallout until the plan was in motion. I wouldn't be surprised if Tommy Dreamer was among the people advocating for her to come back. I know he was very supportive of her in the past. I know Moose is another one who went on Twitter and said that he was happy to have her back. To risk the morale of your locker room for someone that really is not going to make much of a difference to their business, not enough to really matter. Like, in the big picture, it's a questionable choice. But I could see why they would want to do it. They have lost some people, and they stand to lose even more soon. Like, Rhino just announced that he is gone from TNA. He's not retiring, but he's no longer in TNA. Speedball Mike Bailey, he left last month. Jordynne Grace, she's going to be on her way out soon. Okay, Josh Alexander, same thing. Or at least he's going to test out the free agent market, which is what he wanted to do this year before they rolled him over for another year. So would not at all be shocked if Alexander is gone, Grace is gone. They've taken a hit in their knockouts division this year. Naomi, obviously, earlier in the year, went back to WWE. Deonna Purrazzo, she left for AEW. Giselle Shaw left not too long ago. Steph DeLander had spinal fusion surgery. She's been posting about her recovery. So they lost her. And Jordynne Grace is very likely leaving. So in their mind, they probably feel like, well, we need a new face for the division, and Tessa can fit that role for them. Right? Jordynne Grace doesn't want to work with her, but she's willing to be a team player because what does it matter if she's leaving anyway? Right? Just do it and get it over with, and then you'll be gone. She's been a great flag bearer for that company. Great representative for TNA, especially in her appearances in WWE. I think that she deserves better on her way out, as opposed to being forced to work with somebody like Tessa and put her over instead of putting over somebody already on the roster, like a Masha Slamovich or somebody like that, who has put in the work and by all accounts is well regarded. But this is what TNA wants. It's a risk. She has clearly made a lot of enemies, and a lot of it is of her own making. When you treat people like shit, that has a way of coming back around on you. Her not acknowledging things publicly was the worst decision that she could have made. When you have a dozen different people who all have their own stories of things that were done to them or said about them that potentially harmed their career, things they witnessed, When you have that many people, right, you can't ignore that. You can field an entire baseball team with the number of people that have come forward over the years with Tessa Blanchard stories. Now, I believe people can change. They can grow, they can mature, especially when, you're in the earlier part of your career, not near the end. But you have to demonstrate that first. She had one good year in Mexico. Now TNA is going to give her the chance to do the same here. I'm not even saying that she doesn't deserve the chance to try to prove herself. For her sake, she better not fuck it up because TNA is giving her a shot. Because for her, I think what this is a dress rehearsal for WWE or AEW. I think this is the first step. If she can put in a year or two without any incidents, I do think that they would give her a look. This is a chance for her to show that she can be on her best behavior. TNA squandered a lot of goodwill with fans when they fired Scott D'Amore. Then you pull a stunt like this, bringing this woman back in the dark of night like a SEAL Team 6 mission, and you risk alienating people, especially heading into a year where they've already announced major shows for New York and LA. Right? They got a lot of tickets to sell for those shows. Time will tell if any unhappy faces backstage or any bad PR that they're going to get out of this can be offset by generating business. Because that's really all Anthem cares about. Can this woman help generate business for us? TKO cares about making money too. This is going to be a test run. They're going to let TNA be the guinea pig. And if she can do business for them, then they'll want to have a conversation when it comes time for her to be a free agent again. This is the biggest opportunity of her career. She better not squander it.